Welcome to the Logic in Life Coaching Podcast, episode 24.
Everyone wants happiness and success, and we know how to get you there. Come listen to the Leadership Society of Arizona as we teach a proven logic to help you simplify life, overcome challenges, and predict the future. You're listening to the Logic and Life Coaching Podcast. Welcome to Logic and Life Coaching Podcast. My name is Chuck Solanas, and I'm joined by our very, very, very special guest, Dr. Jacob Kashiwagi. And we also have...
And there's an okay guy in the corner.
We also have Andrew Bills, one of our friends that is going to come on and ask some questions for this week. So, Andrew, take it away. What are your questions? Well, we'll start with one question and then go from there.
So my initial question when I heard this show was, what is somebody who is hosting a Logic and Life Coaching podcast and has years of education and a background with the School of Sustainability and all these things, what are the questions that you would ask to someone who could give you, who knows 100% of all the information in the world? It's seems impossible, but somebody who knew everything there is to know about the future and what was going to happen, what are the questions that you would ask them and get true, honest, real, accurate responses?
Now, that's a good question, Andrew. And when I think about this question, it actually really applies to everyone, because whether you're asking someone who knows like 100% information, or whether you're asking someone who just knows a little bit more than you, the idea behind your question is you're trying to figure out, if you are an intelligent person, what would you ask someone who knew more than you, right? And I figure it's because a lot of times when we have a mentor, or when we want to get advice, we don't even know what to ask sometimes. And to be able to know what an intelligent person would ask, or what someone who's successful will ask, it would be really good. But first, let me ask you a couple questions. So if you are talking with someone who knows everything or knows a lot, does this person, do you believe that they can predict the future?
I would believe that, yes, they know the future.
So knowing that they can see into the future, will they always act in your best interest if you're talking to someone who knows everything, or someone who knows a lot of information?
I would say yes. Somebody who is in the KSM model, and I'm not sure if viewers have heard about that or know about that, but somebody who has more information will usually think of others before thinking of themselves.
Yes. Do they know what's in your mind?
Yes.
Okay. So then the next question is, they know all of this. Well, from your perspective, why would you be asking them any question in the first place?
Well, you ask a question for what you don't know, right? You make a decision based on what you don't know.
Yes. So you're trying to get information from them. Now, the third thing is, who would be the best person to know what information you need the most in life right now?
Can you say the question again?
Who would know more about what type of information you need? Someone who knows everything, or you?
I think it would be both. I genuinely think it would be both people, because somebody who knows everything might be able to see more clearly into the future than somebody who is having trouble seeing into the future.
Yes. Now you're going to this person who knows everything. You're going because you don't know, correct?
Correct.
But you're hoping that who knows?
That person knows.
That they know. If this person can read your mind, if this person can see into your future, then should they know exactly what information you need to hear?
Yes.
Okay, so now with that premise, these are the questions I would ask. Okay, first thing I'd ask them is, if I sold my house and put all the money into the stock market, which stock should I put it in? That's a joke, Andrew. I'm
It's
just
kind of like that's
kidding.
kind of like a Back to the Future Part 2. Have you guys watched that movie? It's where the villain
Yes.
takes like this sports
I
book,
remember part 2.
which has all these bets in it, and he goes back in time and just bets on all the teams that are going to win. Remember that? It's like a sports catalog of all the scores of all the teams. And then he makes millions of dollars because he has that book. Anyway.
I remember that he changes so then he becomes this like multi-millionaire and changes everything, right?
Yeah. But he's
Okay,
the bad
yeah.
guy, so that can't work.
No, but I'm just kidding with you, Andrew. No, that's not a question I would ask. But when you know someone knows your future, and you realize that if they can see what's going to happen to you, and they know what's going to happen to you, well, why are you trying to get more information? You know, a lot of times when you're looking for advice, how do you feel when you don't know?
Uncertain, stressed.
Yeah. And so really what you're looking for is, you don't necessarily really need the details per se, but what you really need to know is what?
A general idea or a layout or framework.
You really want to know, should I be worried?
Yeah.
Right? You want to know, you want someone who you know knows everything tell you, Andrew, you don't have to worry about your entire life. Right? So that's what I would ask him. Should I be worried? Next thing should I ask him is, in the end, will I be really happy? And then there's third thing that I would ask him. Because I realize that this person knows more than I do, and this person knows me really well, and this person can read my mind and see into my future, there's only one other question I would ask him. What do you think it is?
Don't know.
Is there something I need to know right now? Because I realize that actually they probably know what I need to know more than I know what I need to know. So no matter what I ask them, it's probably looking at the wrong end of the stick, you know? So I'd ask them, hey, is there something you should tell me, something I need to know? And if they tell me nothing, then I'm like, wow. Then I don't have to be worried. I know I'm going to end up happy. All I got to do is just live my life.
So let me ask a follow-up question to that. Say
Yeah.
you're not asking the person that knows 100% of everything and can't necessarily accurately predict everything about the future, but has had enough experience to see some ideas go places and some not.
Yes.
If you genuinely want sound advice about things like logic and life coaching, where you want principles of deductive logic and leadership management techniques, or say you want to learn a subject in school that you're not receiving in your daily education.
Yes.
What are the questions that you should be asking to your mentors that other than the ones that you just listed? Like if you're worried in life or unhappy in life, what are the questions that you should be asking to your mentors?
Okay.
Because if you say, will I be unhappy or will I be worried? And they say, yes, you're going to live your entire life and you're going to be worried or unhappy. then that's such a poor quality of life. I mean, to me at least. Maybe for somebody who likes to be unhappy, it's good in a weird indirect way, but
Yes. Okay, now here's the key here. If you are talking to someone who is more intelligent than you, the answer will never be you will be worried and you'll be unhappy. Never. Because here's the thing, is the only reason that you'd be worried or unhappy is if what?
if that's really in your mind how you feel.
Is if you don't know. Is if you don't have information to help you realize everything's okay. Right? But if you're a person who's asking for help and asking someone, especially someone who's more intelligent than you, then that person who's more intelligent than you will have the information and they will understand. And because you're asking them and you're open for advice, it means you will get more information. So it's impossible. But
I think one of the most frustrating things, I think, for like young entrepreneurs, for example, is they'll look at podcasts like this for those tidbits of information that will give like a step-by-step plan for how to grow a business or make an idea into something that's scalable. And they hear entrepreneurs come on podcasts or coaches come on podcasts and just say, shoot for the moon, or like, just give nonsense answers that don't seem like they're actually helpful, but they don't give like a step-by-step, you have to file for this type of business license and you have to do X, Y, and Z steps before your business can become successful or your idea can become scalable.
Yes. So let me ask you, Andrew, are you wondering what questions you should ask a mentor to be more successful in life? Or are you asking what questions should you ask a mentor to be just more satisfied and be able to grow in life?
Are being successful in life and growing in that life not synonymous or?
Well, they're kind of synonymous, but a little different. One is more focused, I call, on building a business or like getting more money. The other is more focused on personal, like developing yourself and your personal interests. And so they both have the same characteristics that you have to follow to be successful, but the details of them will be a little bit different.
Gotcha.
Which one are you more concerned about?
Honestly, both. I'd like to explore both, because I think a lot of people who click on a link to a podcast that's logic and life coaching or principles of leadership or whatever it may be, want both. They kind of want the general framework, but they also want specific actionable things that they can do, which I think you guys have been great at giving. At the end of each podcast, you give a nice list of things that people can go do and practice.
Now, if I was asking someone and I'm trying to figure out how to be successful in business and my life, then I'm not going to ask detailed things. And that's why a lot of times when you hear, different podcasts with successful people, they don't actually tell you, okay, you got to get a business license, whatnot, because when you get into the detail of things, well, depending on what business you start, depending on what you go into, all the different technical things will be a little bit different. But the logic of everything will always be the same, whether it's in business or whether it's personal. And so if I'm trying to figure out, well, what's the pattern of success? And I have someone who's more intelligent than me, I'm going to ask them a couple of different types of questions. First, I'm going to want to know, well, what's the difference? If this mentor knows me, I want to know, what do you see is the difference between me and what I do and successful people? right? Because it's the difference. It's if I'm currently right here, but I want to be like up here, I got to first know what the difference is. And obviously I'm not seeing something if there's a big gap. So I'm going to want to know the difference type things, right? Like the details that you're wanting to know, a mentor who knows you well can help you with. For example, what's the difference between me and my sleeping patterns and successful people's sleeping patterns, right? Like I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning almost every day. I don't need an alarm. It's just ingrained in me. I go to bed no later than 10 o'clock at night. You know, that's my sleeping pattern. But that's not everyone's sleeping pattern. And so one of the things I want my mentor to tell me is, well, what's the difference between what I'm doing and what people who have achieved more than me are doing? Or like, and it's really a funny thing because a lot of times, you know, you don't realize, but even the little differences in your life make a big difference in terms of what you can do. So a lot of times people are thinking, well, business, well, I'm going to ask them about business things like their work ethic, da 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 da. But it could be even their sleeping pattern. It could be what you're eating, right? It could be how you exercise. It could be a lot of different things. And so whatever that might be, as you ask your mentor or someone who knows more than you, what's the difference between me and where I want to get to? They can help you to make the changes and the improvements that you need. The other thing, you know, I would ask, I think, a mentor always would be, currently, as you look at me, what do you see? Right? Because one of the things, especially when you're young and you're just making a go at it, is you don't have as much confidence because you don't know. You don't know where you land. You don't know how well you're doing. And so I'd always ask them, like a therapy session. In our last episode, I think everyone needs a therapist. See, a lot of people think only like people who are in trouble need a therapist, but everybody needs a therapist. It doesn't have to be an official therapist, but everybody needs one. And they need one because you need someone always letting you know you're okay. You need someone from the outside saying, I'm looking at your life and you're doing fine. Right? Because sometimes it's not that you need to know more or you need to change what you're doing. Sometimes it's just human nature that the mind is not strong enough to realize you're fine doing what you're doing, just keep moving. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, I mean, there are people who have destructive habits that could make a course correction and utilize a mentor or therapist in that way too.
That is true. And so having like someone that you can just talk to that will be like a therapist for you. I mean, it does so much for your stability, I believe. So you're trying to find the difference. You're trying to find stability in this mentor. And then you're trying to find, I'd ask them things dealing with what I'm dealing with right now. And I try to get the idea or the natural law is what I call it. And as you've taken our course at the university, you know, we're really big on patterns, right? I don't want to know specific details in what I'm doing necessarily. I want to know the idea on how I should be shaping my life, right? So here's me and here's where other people are. I don't want to know individual ideas, right? Specific things on the thing, like the exact thing I should eat every day. I don't want to know you're supposed to eat a little bit of chicken, a little bit of spinach, you know, whatever it is. I don't want to know that, but I do want to know the pattern on how they bridge this gap from where I am to where they're going. So for eating, I don't want them to tell me exactly what to eat. I want them to tell me the idea of when successful people eat, what are they thinking about, right? You know, they're not thinking about the taste. They're not thinking about whatever. They're thinking about getting their body healthy so that they can work longer, harder, that they have more physical capability to do anything that they need to in life, whether it's in your personal or career. right? To be able to work those 24-hour days when it's required because there's a deadline coming up and you need it. That's like a principle behind how you're eating and what you want to look for. Principle if not, they try not to eat manufactured food, right? They try to get fresh food. They try to get food that they know was grown right, that doesn't have chemicals in it. Or it could be that when they think about food, they know that it's really hard to have a good diet. So they're always looking in their life for things that are easy for them, that come naturally to them, that they just naturally enjoy, so that it's not very hard for them to prepare it, to like have to like force themselves to eat it every day, because they might not be worried about taste, but they are worried that if they can't eat it. Did that make sense?
The first thing that came to mind is Soylent. Have you heard of Soylent?
No.
Oh man, it's a product that this guy made so that he wouldn't have to eat any other food. It looks like a blended mix of vitamins and nutrients, and
Yeah.
he ate it for a long time without eating anything else. And yeah, I'm not endorsing Soylent on this podcast. I'm not like a paid representative.
Yeah. So if I'm looking for a mentor, that's why they try to keep it high level. Because when you get down to the details, then it does matter, exactly what you want to do. Are you just trying to be happy? Are you trying to make money? Whatnot? But the real things that will give you real value is exactly what you're looking for. It's pieces of advice that teach you how reality works, that teach you the pattern of life. Because if you understand the pattern, then you can figure out the details on your own. Does this make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so those are the three things I'd ask a mentor. One, I'd always ask, how am I doing? Just to get that good feedback of, hey, you're doing amazing. Right? That never hurts you at all. Second is, what's the difference? Because I know the only way to get to where I want to go is I got to change something. And the first step to change is I got to know the difference. And then the third is, yes, so now what's the natural law behind this? What are these pieces of reality that if I understand it will help me a lot more? And that's my child. But does that help or answer your question?
That does absolutely answer the question. And it sparked some interesting thoughts for me. Like one of the scientists in the building that we just finished, his name's Dr. David Anderson, and he studied patterns in fruit flies and how different neural networks work within the fruit fly's brain, because he hypothesized that your brain is not this bag of chemical soup. And maybe Chuck, we can link his TED talk in the podcast. That'd be kind of cool. He talks about how when people think they have a chemical imbalance in their brain, that they try to treat it with a drug, and that is the equivalent of pouring engine oil all over the hood of your car and your engine block, and then some of the drips might go where they need to go, but for the most part, it's treating your brain as if it's this bag of chemical soup, which it's not. But he studies these different paths of neurons and what synapse fires when those neurons are affected by different stimuli, and wow, observes patterns. Yeah, and it goes as something as tiny as that to as grand as your entire life, and observing the patterns in your entire life.
Wow.
So yeah,
it works no matter where you go, right? The more you understand the pattern behind things work, the greater advancements you can make in technology and in understanding things. And the same with your life. The more you understand the patterns of your life and how you operate and what happens, the more you can, the greater advancements you can make, and the more successful you can be. Yeah. No, that's a great question, and hopefully we did give the viewers some some implementable things that they can do if they have a mentor, or if they know someone who knows 100% information, can predict their future 100%, and
Yeah, have them call me if they...
Okay. Well, hey, thank you so much, Andrew, for asking that question, and Dr. Jacob for answering it. We hope our listeners enjoyed listening and viewers enjoyed watching. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Logic and Life Coaching Podcast. It would be great if you could take a moment to write us a review. For any questions, comments, or topics that you would like to have addressed on the show, email the team at team@leadaz.org. To learn more about the Leadership Society of Arizona, visit us at leadaz.org.